What is up, fellas? Back for another episode of the Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of bgobsession.com. You know where to find us, all major socials, all major audio platforms, and of course at the mothership, bgobsession.com. Paul just rolled out the crystal ball pool this past week. Already got some entries there. I tend to wait until closer to the season, but because I found when I do it this early, I change it 19 times, and then I usually wish I would have just left it alone. But the BGO Fantasy Football League is going to get rolling here shortly, and some of the other stuff. So please come by, free to join, hook it up, have some fun, join the conversation. So, a lot going on. I mean, usually I crack a joke about not having anything to talk about, but we have a lot to talk about. The news of the day, obviously, I'm sure you guys have been aware of it, is that we now have our wide receiver two. Adam Peters was able to make it work. Stefon Diggs comes in 1 year, up to $12 million. He instantly walks in. I think he is arguably he is the most decorated wide receiver in the wide receiver room. You would argue he's probably on par, maybe just a minor step behind Terry McLaurin, but he raises the floor and the ceiling of the wide receiver room. So, instant reaction, boys. What do y'all think?
So before these guys speak on their individual behalfs, I just thought that I was on the board when the news broke this afternoon, and somebody posted something that I think totally encapsulates in its entirety the entire fan base's reaction to having a wide receiver too. And I apologize to all any mothers out there watching with daughters or whatever. But I about died when I saw this. So anyway, if you're listening on audio, I guess you'll have to come to YouTube and check out
And
our.
watch the video.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I know how inappropriate that is, but I just could not. I had nose milk, man. And I wasn't even drinking milk at the time. So
That's fantastic.
I got to give props to our member Khan who posted that and just like, oh my gosh, I know everyone that saw that just about died. So mm. Anyway, okay, sorry to derail it, but I couldn't not post that. I had to share that.
Go for it, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know how you really follow that up. But anyways, I really like, obviously, the move. I think everybody does. One of the first things that came to mind for me is that it just basically eases the tension in our wide receiver room, and just allows everyone to take a deep breath. Think about how many times in the past we've asked receivers to do things that they weren't capable of. Whether that be a young wide receiver that we were expecting too much of, or someone to play the number 2 wideout position who really wasn't cut out for it. I think adding someone like Diggs just allows everybody to slot into their ideal role. You're now in a situation where you're not expecting a guy like McCaffrey to come out and put up 700 yards, or you're not expecting a guy like Burks to come out and finally break through. It just allows everyone to slot into a spot that's right for them, and it allows everyone to develop at the pace that they need to develop at. One of the other things that I thought about that was really cool when it comes to Diggs is he kind of reminds me of the Henry Ellard type. I think Diggs is entering his 12th year. Henry Ellard was entering his 12th year as well when he came to Washington, and then he subsequently put up 3 1,000-yard seasons for us consecutively in a row. If Diggs even comes close to that level of production, we're laughing. Heck, I would take what he put up in his rookie year in Minnesota. If he gives us like 50 catches, 700 yards, that's ideal.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I've seen some guys like hone in on his age, and it's like, I get it. I mean, he's going to be 33 pretty soon here, and that's like two and a half years older than Terry is, and we're worried about Terry's age. But my thing is, look at the production, man. I mean, the guy's production has not slowed at all. And it's in the crawl there, but I mean, He has had 100 receptions in 5 of the last 8 seasons. You know how many guys we have on our roster that have ever had 100 receptions in a single season? 0. None. Terry McLaurin's never had 100 receptions in a season in his whole career. And again, that's not a reflection on Terry. Look who's been throwing to him, et cetera. But I mean, this guy, 7 of the last 8 seasons, he's had more than 1,000 yards, including last season with the Patriots. So it's not like, I mean, I get the age thing. Maybe he'll fall off a cliff. I guess it happens. But there's no evidence that the guy cannot still play at a high level. And I mean, I might have signed the guy for 2 or 3 years just based on that, just based on the fact that his production has not fallen off. He's been very consistent. And just like you said, I mean, I just think it's the biggest no-brainer we had coming into the tail end of the off season, going into training camp and preseason and the regular season. My mind would have been blown if we didn't make this move. That's how I feel about it.
Derek, you want to talk because I'm going to be the counterpoint tonight, obviously.
I'm kind of with John. I think it makes the most sense. I don't know that Diggs was always the guy, but he quickly became the guy. We talked a lot about Ayuk and a lot about the other options. I think Ayuk played himself out of the plans, but I think signing a wide receiver, a vet wide receiver, after camp started was always a part of the plan for these guys. Diggs is older, but Diggs was I backed out a little bit, so someone might have made the point, but he was 7 months recovered from an ACL injury entering last season. Then they gave him a 3-year deal with 2 void years at the end of it. And all he did was basically be the wide receiver 1 for a team that made it to the Super Bowl. 85 catches, 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns, which seems a little low. But the other major part of this is
Derek,
that
I just want to make one comment about that. That is Terry McLaurin's 2024 season that everyone talks about.
That's his
exactly what Terry McLaurin did in 2024, and the guy that everyone's worried about his age just did it last season.
After an ACL injury. And the other major thing about this that not a lot of people are talking about, 85 catches, 51 of them were for first downs. You're talking 60% of the time he makes a catch, he's getting in the first down. I heard some stats. He had an 11.9 yard per catch average last year, which you're averaging first down money. And he's coming in not to be our wide receiver 1, but probably our wide receiver 2. And realistically, I don't even know that I would say target-wise he's going to be our wide receiver 2. I just think positionally he's going to be our wide receiver 2. But what he does, even if he's not 85 catches for 1,000 yards, he is going to change the way that you call your offense because of what the defense does, having to worry about him instead of having to worry about insert other veteran wide receiver we have added this year. If he takes pressure off the middle of the field for guys like Chig and Antonio Williams, he takes pressure off the middle of the field for the running backs coming out of the backfield, who we happen to have one that averages 50 catches a year. There's a lot of things that he can do, and having him instantly makes the room better. Now, how much better? We can have that conversation, but I don't think anybody can argue, and I know, Bob, you said you'll be the counterpoint, but I don't think anybody can justifiably say that the team is not immensely better today and not immensely better at 9 o'clock p.m. than it was at 9 o'clock a.m.
Yeah. All right, Bob.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with any of it. Although I am going to be the guy that brings up the age. He's going to be 31 or 33 by the end of the season. And he's also the only guy in the wide receiver room coming off a blown ACL. That was just a year and a half ago. we sign him for 1 year. Does he make him better? Does he make us better for this year? Yeah, he does. I'm not sure that it makes us better next year or the year after. I sat there and I've been meaning to do a post about this, and unfortunately I've been slacking because, well, new job and I'm mentally worn out all the damn time. But you sit down and do the math. Last year, in a pass-happy offense, we averaged 28 passing attempts a game. I expect that to come down this year because I expect us to run the ball more. They've already said they want to get double digits to McLaurin every game. We've got Chig. Supposedly, Sennett's having a relatively good. I see the grimace, John. but I mean, here's the thing. I keep seeing reports that McCaffrey's having a great camp, Lane's having a great camp, Burks is having a great camp. Somebody's not going to make the game day roster for 17 weeks. And it's a guy that could be here next year and could in the year after and the year after that. How long is Diggs going to be here? Yeah, you'd offered him a 3-year contract, John, but wide receivers fall off cliffs all the damn time past 30, and you can't.
He's already past 30, though, man.
Right,
I guess,
which means he is a ticking time bomb.
Maybe. But I think the ACL thing. I hear you. Normally, I would agree with you, except that he lit it up last season.
Yeah.
And he was coming off the ACL, immediately off the ACL. So I don't know why we would be that worried about the ACL after watching him light it up for 1,000 yards. And I guess here's my thing, Bob. I don't think anything you're saying is unreasonable at all. But, we had a guy on our team not too long ago named Adrian. And Adrian was not human. And Adrian did not follow any of the expected rules about when he's supposed to fall off a cliff or see all of his skills decline or re-injure his ACL. The guy just could play, and he played his ass off at an advanced age. And there are guys like that, and I'm looking at Stefon Diggs' stats. He got drafted in 2015. He's got better numbers than anyone on our roster, including guys with the initials TM. He just does.
And I'm not arguing. Although as a longtime fan, I would argue that Diggs has always had better quarterback play than Terry has. Always.
Well,
I would also argue that Diggs was a first-round choice, wasn't he?
No, he's a fifth-round choice.
He was a fifth-round choice?
Yep.
Okay, well, all right. So he's overperforming like Terry is. And I'll take it. But I get what you're saying. And he may very well have another year like he did last year where he cheats father time. Maybe he's Williams, who's still playing all-pro tackle at what, 37 now, 38 this year? I don't know what he's going to be. Brady, who was in his 40s. Messi, who's almost 40 in soccer. LeBron. Maybe he's going to be that guy. But the statistics don't support that. Sooner or later, and sooner is the bet. And it just feels like we're taking snaps and reps away from guys that can learn and be productive for 4, 5, 6 years. I don't know. Which is not to say I'm not unhappy with it. But please, part of this is because it'd be a really boring podcast if all four of us agreed about everything.
I'm glad we're talking about it.
Part of this is me just looking at it and go, if we had to sign somebody, this was the guy. For me. And I thought I was going to be really happy. And then I saw the news today, and I wasn't completely happy about it, which kind of surprised me. And here we are. So there you go.
So my response, Bob, your point's valid about pushing. There's going to be somebody that was going to make the team that's no longer going to make the team anymore. But if I'm looking at this, the wide receiver room, now you can pretty much say Terry McLaurin, Stefon Diggs, Antonio Williams are locks. I don't know if Williams was going to be what Diggs can be this year. But I think he can, taking the pressure off of him from needing to be what Diggs can be this year, changes his development. Last year we were looking at multiple third round picks to come in here and be the guy to elevate the other side of the ball across from Terry McLaurin. And I don't know that that's the best trajectory, especially when we're talking about developing players and getting them NFL ready. Having Diggs out there and allowing that, I don't know that he's taking targets away from Jalen Lane. He might take a couple away from Luke McCaffrey, but at the end of the day, I don't know that he's stunting their growth as much as he is allowing them to develop without needing to be literally a wide receiver 2 in what we all want to hope to be as a competitive football team. Like, we were signing Robbie Chosen off the street last year to come in here and play and start and take 50 to 60% of the offensive snaps of this football. Like, I mean, that was less than a year ago that we're having this. So to have a guy like Diggs be able to come in, and Jalen Lane, let's be real, you're not looking at that guy to be anywhere near capable at this point in his career of being a 50-catch guy. You can look at Luke McCaffrey and say maybe he can sniff those numbers.
Maybe 50% catch rate percentage. That's probably
right. So
that's probably
the reality is Diggs is probably pushing somebody out who isn't a part of the long-term plans anyways, because yeah, we have those guys that that might contribute for 2 to 3 years down the road, but we also have Van Jefferson, De'Ami Brown, Bradley, the undrafted rookie free agent. Who am I spacing on? There's another one, but
who have I been
Treylon Burks.
talking about all off season?
Right.
Treylon Burks.
Treylon Burks.
I feel like we're damaged as Commanders fans. No, I sound like that. I sound like one of those sort of guys that's saying Commanders. But anyway, as Washington fans, I feel like we're damaged because you know what happens on good teams? Guys that can play get the job. Guys that can't play go to the practice squad or get released. I mean, that's what happens. That's what's supposed to happen. I get the argument. I do get the argument. How long is he going to be here? Like, or is there some hidden gem on the roster like a Jalen Lane who's going to get cut because we signed a guy for 1 or 2 seasons? I get that argument. That's a perfectly valid argument. But it also assumes that the guys that we're worried about losing will ever be legit NFL players. I think McCaffrey could be a legit NFL player. He's shown some things, both on special teams, and unlike Jalen Lane, he actually can catch the football. Jalen Lane is dropping touchdown passes in training camp already. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not on the Jalen Lane train. And Matt Jefferson's he's a really solid vet. I think he could help us a lot. I don't know who the odd man out is, but honestly, I don't care. Because if you don't want to be the odd man out, perform when you get your chances on the field. And really, with the exception of McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown had a stretch where he performed. They let him go anyway. But other than that, who are the guys that we're so worried about? Treylon Burks, are you kidding me? The guy caught 10 balls last year, and we act like now talk about a contrast. You got Stefon Diggs, who's a 5th-round draft pick, who's in the NFL for 12 seasons and lights it up year after year after year. And then you got Treylon Burks, who I'm not bashing the guy. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he was a 1st-round draft pick who has done nothing. 0, including in Washington. He really hasn't done anything other than a couple of circus catches. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll make the roster and shove my words right down my throat, which I would love that. But I just don't see anyone on this roster that's not named McLaurin or McCaffrey maybe that I would be concerned with losing. I really don't, but that's just me.
And don't get me wrong. I don't think there are any sacred cows here. I have been on the Burks, bandwagon all off season. I see a legit redemption story there. And so far in camp, a couple of reporters agree with me. He's catching everything that's being thrown at him. He's getting separation. He's running away from guys. No matter who covers him, he's got a first-round body, which is and legitimately, he's the only guy in the wide receiver room with a first-round body, including Diggs and McLaurin. So I don't know. I was really excited about the stuff I was reading about the wide receivers, and I don't know. Now I'm. But you're right. I mean, theoretically, if guys come out and play, the problem is I see a $12 million price tag, and we all know that impacts who gets on the field.
Who do you guys, Paul? Who do you think is gonna be the odd man out or the odd men out? Who right now, if you had to guess, like who's not gonna make the roster?
In the receiver room, I would probably say it would be Van Jefferson. I think they're going to hold on to McCaffrey and Lane because of their special teams ability and special teams value. When you look at a guy like Burks, Bob's talked about the upside. He's talked about the promise. I think that is enough to keep him on board. And then when you talk about De'Ami Brown, he developed that chemistry with Jaden Daniels in 2024. I think that's going to be enough for him to stick as well. I think Jefferson is the odd man out for sure.
And I think Bradley goes to the practice squad.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. And I'm okay with losing Jefferson. I think. I don't know. I'm not like I said. I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. I'm not unhappy. I'm just not as happy as I really thought I was, and I see more downside than I expected to see at this point in time.
Yeah.
So one other. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, Bob. There's just one other thing I wanted to add to just maybe convince you the other way. Not that I want to or need to, but this is a hugely important year for Jaden Daniels. And I think at this juncture, when we are trying to cement him as an upper echelon quarterback in the NFL, I think that Stefon Diggs is the exact type of player that he needs at this moment.
I'm going to say something that's going to make everyone feel a little better. We could be talking about them 2 months ago. If we would have forecast tonight, we would be talking about Brandon Ayuk. And, maybe all of his psychosocial issues will calm down now that he's actually part of the team. I think we dodged like the biggest bullet from hell in the NFL this offseason because he made it impossible for us to sign him. I think 2 months ago, Jaden wanted him here. He wanted to be here. Probably Adam Peters thought he was going to be a steal. And all the fan base was somewhat excited about him. And then he opened his mouth. And, and he never shut his mouth for a 2-month period. And that's the biggest favor that we have ever gotten as a fan base. So and I know Stefon Diggs has his own, issues supposedly, but he's never had any issues in the locker room that I'm aware of. It's all just, peripheral stuff. So I'm not saying, in a perfect world, he would be my choice to be on my favorite NFL team based on some of the stuff he's been involved with. But in terms of being a football player, I think he's the exact opposite of Brandon Ayuk. I think he is. I think we could not find a player that's more different in a positive way from Brandon Ayuk than Stefon Diggs.
I would agree with that. I want to say one last thing, and I think part of my as I've listened to you guys talk, part of my I don't know, my gripe, my trepidation, whatever you want to call it, over this is the fact that all the guys that were on the roster this morning went of their own volition and played with Jaden in the offseason, worked with Jaden in the offseason. If we'd signed Diggs 2 months ago, and he'd been part of that off-season crew that went and played, I think I'd be fine in it. But that crew developed a chemistry. And all we've heard from reporters for the last week, and even part of the tail end of OTAs in June was how it looked like Jaden had chemistry with all these guys. And he doesn't have that with Diggs today. And he's probably not going to have that by the time the season opens in what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? I don't, and because we paid $12 million, the dude's going to start in the wide receiver 2 slot.
Yeah, I guess I take some comfort knowing that the guy has been productive year after year after year after year.
You're right.
With 3 different NFL, 3 or 4 different NFL teams, with a number, probably 10.
3 or 4 in the last 4 years.
And the only consistent thing with Stefon Diggs has been his play on the field. So I just think the guy gets open and catches the ball, and I think Jaden probably has been sporting a Woody since about 1:00 this afternoon. That's just my guess. I'm just guessing, but I think he's probably more excited than we are. But
I'm sure he is. And nothing would make me happier than to get to Thanksgiving and have to eat my words, because Diggs is either leading the team in receptions or number 2 behind McLaurin and chasing Terry down.
Hey, Bob, I don't know why I was watching it, but I actually went back and watched a podcast from 5 years ago of ours where I was pontificating glowingly about how smart we were to grab this player named Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, and how all the rest of the NFL didn't know what the hell they were doing, but we got the steal of the draft. So I'll just throw that out there as a pre-warning that you may look really, really smart in a few months.
Or it could look really, really dumb.
Anyway, we're at Jamin Davis. I hope it's.
I don't even think he's in the league anymore.
We hardly knew you.
Well, boys, before Diggs got signed, I had about 4 or 5 pages of notes from the last week of camp. So I figured I could run down a couple of things. I don't know if you guys made any observations or anything that stood out from you at camp. The problem is that some of the stuff from page 1 and 2 is completely a moot point. I was noticing that, believe it or not, Akello Witherspoon was having a decent camp, multiple pass breakups. He was man-to-man on Treylon Burks, and then all he did is just retire, which is kind of random. He got signed and replaced by none other than one of the original Redskins now. We've added another guy who actually sported our logo in Fabian Moreau, who is 32, coming off, I believe he was with the Falcons last year. He spent some time in Minnesota. No, he was with Minnesota last year. That's kind of the intrigue with him also, is that if we're going to be running that kind of a defense, that they're in Minnesota, he's walking in with kind of a prior knowledge and understanding of at least the language. So interested to see him back. I think he brings an NFL level cornerback. I don't know that he's going to come in and be like some stud shutdown lockdown guy, but he is definitely a depth piece. A couple other notes. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but Rasul Douglas is having a hell of a camp, and looks like he's positioning himself to potentially be a starter on the outside across from Amos, depending on what happens there. I heard news we should hear more tomorrow regarding Amos's injury and Tress Ways. So, couple notes. That's a few notes with the secondary. I don't know if there's anything you guys had any jump off. I could go through all my notes, but I don't want to hoard the entire podcast.
I just think it's really cool that the 2 biggest areas, we might obsess a little, hence the name BG Obsession. We've been obsessed with 2 areas of this roster for like 6 months. I mean, really obsessed. and it's been wide receiver. And I joked today on the Diggs thread that I'm really worried about wide receiver 3. And then I said too soon question mark.
Did somebody
But
slap
we've
you?
been really worried about wide receiver and the corner and the defensive backs. In 3 days, we've like drastically shored up both of those, in my opinion. I like Fabian Moreau, and he can still play, and he's got a ton of experience. So I just think that I love those 2 moves. I mean, somebody was posting today about how they think we can win 12 games this season, and I've been in the mood lately, and I just raked them over the coals basically and said, "There's no way in hell anyone with any sense can predict 12 wins. We might. I mean, anything can happen, but it just seems insane to me. But I feel a lot less. I feel like it's a lot less insane having shored up the defensive backfield and the wide receiver spot. So anyway,
Speaking of that defensive backfield, sorry, one other name that is popping a lot this camp in the defensive backfield is Tyler Owens. I saw some people saying he's been lined up at safety. He's been lined up at nickel corner. He's even been lined up at off-ball linebacker at times, and playing well. Saw a highlight today where he was man up on Chig Okonkwo in the red zone, or at least he was running zone, and Chig came through his zone. He rubbed Chig to the outside. Jaden was rolling right, tried to get Chig to come back inside. Owens played the ball perfectly and deflected a pass. So Tyler Owens is another name that could kind of be one of those sneaky guys that plays a lot more than we were expecting because he fits what Durante Jones is trying to do on this defense. Sorry, what were you going to say, Bob?
I was just going to say, we were talking about positions that we've angsted about. If we want to go back a number of years, I'm not sure we've angsted about anything as much as we have linebacker. And somewhere Ohm is smiling, I know, because he's been beating this drum since 2001. Well, that's all right. That's an exaggeration. He's been beating this drum since London retired. Our linebacking core has been horrible, and apparently they're like the stars of the show in this training camp right now. Specifically, one Mr. Styles and
yeah, Adafe.
Yeah. It would appear that we got what we paid for on the outside. It would also appear that we got what we drafted on the inside, and these guys are playing lights out at the moment. So much so that we're not even hearing about the other signings. I mean, I haven't heard anything about Leo Chanel. And
I've seen some love about Leo Chanel and the way that he plays.
See, and I've missed it during training camp. I'm sure it's there. And then the other guy that we brought in specifically to rush the passer, Clavon Chason.
Jason,
Haven't heard anything. Granted, I'm in the hinterlands. I hear, but I do have the internet. So
I guess
I got a quote for you.
Go ahead.
I got a quote for you here. Let me see if I can find it. Who said it? Sorry, go ahead. I'll run it down. Go ahead, John.
Well, I guess one of the things that I've heard a lot on the, I listen to a lot of pods. I guess I have pod envy. I don't know, but one of the things I've heard quite a bit is that they are not giving veteran rest days like they have in the past. Like the vets are playing, and now they have put several people on the PUP list. So I'm kind of like, yeah, you don't have to give them vet rest days because you took them off the roster temporarily. But anyway, setting that aside, I think that's a good thing. I guess one thing, I'm not too worried about most of the injuries that I've heard. Like, I think Trey Amos will be fine. I think, Tress Way will be fine. Cosme makes me nervous because Cosme's such a difference maker when he's in there. And then I know I saw somewhere that he had gone off the field, gimpy, and did not come back. So I don't know if anyone's heard anything on Cosme, but that's the only one that would give me concern is if he was not able to come back.
He missed practice. I want to say it was yesterday. Him and Tunsil were both out yesterday, but I believe they were both back today. Bob, here's your quote. Full Command, who also is they're on Twitter X, and they have their own podcast. The quote I read is, "The burst off the line of Owe and Chason is unlike anyone you've seen in burgundy and gold in a long time." I heard Khan talk about Chason, I believe, and somebody else talking about his just pure ability to rush the passer. Sorry, but John, I believe Cosme was back today. They're off tomorrow, so why he did not practice yesterday? He was in street clothes yesterday, which was kind of alarming. But nobody actually got any reporting. But he was back in uniform today, if I understand correctly.
I think Joseph is getting a lot of attention, which isn't somebody that's not like a name that I was expecting to hear a lot about, but he seems to be having a really good camp. And that's saying something with the linebackers that we have that that he's getting some attention. And then I don't know. I think some of the guys I think we need to talk about center because we already were worried. There was already a lot of gnashing of teeth. I was leading the gnashing of the teeth when we let Biotic go, and then it kind of theoretically appointing Allegretti, who I have no problem with. I think Allegretti I could see very well where he could turn out to be a lot better center just based on leadership and his, he spent his entire career prior to the NFL, literally his entire football career playing center. So he's getting back to the position that he was raised in. And so I don't have any doubt in him as far as like his ability to lead and to see defenses and communicate and all of that. And he's been really durable. Like I think he's only missed a couple of games in his entire NFL career. But he is banged up right now, and that's been the cause of a lot of hand wringing over who would be our center if it's not Allegretti. And of course, then people like me jump in and say, well, that would have been something to think about before you let a starting caliber NFL center walk for no compensation because you want to be a good guy to him. I think that was a major. I don't think that was good roster management, but it doesn't matter because we did it. We let Biotic go, and so now we're looking at like guys that aren't looking very good at center. And what is it? Good Jones, is that his name? Who's apparently not looked very confidence inspiring so far. And then we got the rookie who I can't imagine they're looking at the rookie as a possible starter if for some reason the Allegretti injury had to be a big deal.
I got a couple of notes on that. We did sign Trey Hill, who was on the practice squad in Chicago under Ben Johnson last year. So there's a lot of people kind of connecting that dot where at least during camp, it wouldn't be bad for somebody who's kind of familiar with at least the terminology or the offense that Blau might be looking to run that's similar to what he did in Detroit. And I did see a report that multiple guys stayed after practice, at least on Tuesday, I think it was. Trent Scott, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Cooper, among others, literally just practicing snaps with Hartman and Mariota. So I think they're kind of looking at a lot of places. And I know Paul's chomping at the bit to talk about the offensive line because that's kind of what gets him going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued with their line this year. One of the guys in particular that I want to see how he's going to be used and what the plan moving forward with him would be Brandon Coleman. I mean, this was a third round pick, a day 2 pick. You would hope that, picks of that nature find a starting role on your team, and at this point I just don't know where that fit currently is. I know there's the possibility that he can push Chris Paul inside at guard. I would really like him to, take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and steal that position away from him. But I mean, if Paul holds on to it, then great as well. But as a third round pick, Brendan Coleman, you would hope can find a spot somewhere on a line, especially given the fact that he could apparently play all 5 line positions. So
we move up to get him too? It wasn't just a third round pick. It was a guy that we moved up to get, didn't we? Or am I wrong about that?
You might be right. I can't look it up at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I wondered that. Like, I've heard that he can play all 5 positions. So why?
Well, he stepped in and played left tackle, and I mean, he wasn't a liability at a minimum.
I don't know. I just will say, if Allegretti can't go, I don't want to use the D word, but it might be approaching a disaster. Because a center is a big deal. I don't know of any. I mean, people talk about left tackle, but if you don't have a center who knows what he's doing, you got problems. Especially when you just changed the entire offense. So I don't know. I'm a little worried about that.
A couple other news and notes here that I jotted down that I thought were kind of cool. One had Ben Sinnott. Somebody had quoted saying that Ben Sinnott has been spending a lot of time not just at tight end, but also at fullback, almost like that H-back Chris Cooley role. And they're utilizing him out of that he had multiple alignments out of the backfield where he was actually breaking and going out into space, which is kind of awesome. That's like we kind of had envisioned something like that for him.
Did he do any of that kind of stuff? I really don't remember much about like Ben Sinnott's college career. I mean, we were excited when we drafted him. I know he had a lot of positive draft profile stuff, but I just don't remember how he was utilized in college.
I feel like he did, John, because I do remember that year that he was drafted when we previewed tight ends. He was one of the guys that I spoke about. Mm-hmm. I almost feel like I remember talking about Kyle Juszczyk from the 49ers, and because he plays that type of role as well. So I feel he has been utilized in that formation before.
Another interesting alignment is somebody said that there was actually a time on the field yesterday, and we were in a 4-3, and they had Sonny Styles lined up at the mic, Luvu at the weak side, and Leo Chanel at the strong side. So it looks like they're also actively trying to game plan all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time, instead of just pigeonholing, well, Leo's a mic and Sonny's a mic, so it's either one. No, they're trying to get as many of these guys on the field as possible. Beyond that, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. Sonny Styles is wrecking camp. He has had a couple big-time plays, filling holes, and there have been people remarking multiple times about him being in man-to-man coverage with Terry McLaurin and being successful. Like, he is not getting dusted by arguably our wide receiver 1. So the guy's he's a freak, and a lot of people are looking at him that way.
Yeah, and I think Luvu is also getting a lot of attention because I think a lot of that is because you can't focus on Luvu anymore because you got to worry about Sonny Styles, and so I'm really excited about just our whole linebacking core. And I mean, I think we could have one of the best linebacking cores in the NFL, which is amazing, considering where we were during the Rivera era.
Right. One note from August 3rd, Kane Medrano got activated. He passed his physical. He is off the PUP list, so he is now back practicing. Always good to report good health. And that same day, they ran a jet sweep to Krosky Merritt while Rashad White was lined up at running back. How long have said, what could we do if we could utilize multiple running back sets, especially with when we had Eckler and guys like that. That to see that where you can move around guys and change their positions and be able to get your kind of scheme up your position, your lineup, and scheme up your matchup instead of just hoping that you get a favorable matchup.
I have seen
The
Time
sorry, go ahead.
and others talk about how Rashad White has broken it outside, like is much faster than like the perception of him is. Because I think that most people are like, oh yeah, he's a good like all around back, good, can catch the ball out of the backfield, that kind of stuff. But at least from what the reports are from the media guys, he's got some speed that is surprising. So that's good to hear.
One other running back note: there was a highlight recorded today. Katron Allen, of all people, took a Texas route. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a Texas route is, where they run kind of diagonally out of the backfield and then immediately break back towards the middle of the field. And he took that for about a 20-yard touchdown today. So that's the guy that we drafted that everybody and that us on this podcast talked about maybe being a power guy, and they're utilizing him out of the backfield. So I hope they continue this where they're just kind
of. He's a ton of bricks, man. He's a ton of bricks, and he's like, he falls forward. He like makes people sorry they tried to tackle him. So I love that. I love that guy. I think. I mean, everyone's in love with JCM, but I can't wait to see Katron Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have any other camp notes?
I do.
What's up, Paul?
We've gone almost 47 minutes, and we haven't talked about our most important player. And I think the most positive tidbit of information that
Jeremy Reeves.
No, the most positive piece of information that we've received out of camp thus far is that Jaden Daniels looks like Jaden Daniels. So that makes me thrilled.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
I did have a couple notes jot down. Denton Day yesterday on the 4th said that that day was by far the best Jaden has looked all camp, which is crazy to think about. There was one day I had just written down the stats that I'd seen when they were doing 11 on 11s. He was 12 for 16, and that includes 2 drops by Sinnott. So he could have easily been 14 for 16. Yes, and I agree, Paul. Everything I've been seeing is that he looks as confident and as capable as he has looked since he's been on our team.
I don't know. My note isn't specific about anybody. It's the fact that apparently we're running trick plays every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And they work.
Yeah,
against the defense that everyone is saying is leading the offense.
I think they've had McCaffrey back there taking pitch outs and throwing the ball down the field a couple of times, and
I haven't seen him described anywhere. In fact, Kime has said once or twice that the media is not supposed to report on those plays. They're not supposed to describe specifics. But he sounds a little excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the thing about trick plays is you got to make sure the very first one you try works. Because if it's a disaster, if it's like gets picked off or something,
the swinging gate,
never see it again. You won't see a trick play for like 4 games or 5 games.
Yeah,
the swinging gate. Hey man, that was a different team. That was the maroon and black.
That's right.
Another quick note here. There was a report in 11 on 11s. Eminahu was lined up at defensive tackle. He had a quick internal pressure. Jaden was able to break the pocket. Owe chased him down from behind and forced Jaden to then throw it away, which is in itself a win because Jaden throwing it away is positive. Not that I'm not knocking him, but it's good to see that maturity and the development. Literally, the next play, the same 2 guys come together and they actually force a sack. So, again, that comes back to the pass rush and what the defense is showing is appearing to be able to get some at least internal pressure. But it looks like it's coming from all angles, which is awesome.
I heard I'm going to screw this up. I'm going to screw this up, Derek. But I read something where they were blowing. They were actually using like a whistle if the play went beyond a certain point with Jaden. They're trying to get him to stop taking off. They're trying to get him to be more committed to like letting the play develop and continuing to be patient, or even just
Yeah,
getting rid of the ball instead of taking
I
off with it. And so they were actually blowing plays dead with
the
the
play
whistle.
dead. If he broke, if for it was like the first 2 or 3 days. If he broke the pocket, they would
Mhm.
blow it dead. They would not let it continue.
Yeah.
They were forcing him to maintain pass. You know what I mean? Like keep his eyes
Yeah, I
downfield
like
and look to throw, not run.
I like the sound of that because it's like that's what because his instinct you gotta his instinct is you cannot change the instinct, but what you have to do is like train him to not always
Right.
allow instincts to take over, like to
And that can evolve. Like you can run a handful of practices where you blow it dead. Then you can run a handful of practices where you tell him don't pass the line of scrimmage. Like it doesn't have to stay where you're never allowed to throw, you're
right.
never allowed to run, but you just kind of you develop it so that he can get that habit in practice.
Just the fact that they're like intentionally trying to get him to stay in the pocket more. I think that's
Right.
a good. I mean, I'm not one of those. Don't ever let him run. He's a dual threat quarterback. That's part of what makes him special. But by the same token, it doesn't matter if you're a dual threat quarterback if you have 4 injuries in a season. So I'm glad. I'm just excited that they're working on that.
A couple news and notes around the league. Alec Pierce, somebody that this fan base was big time on, started the season on the pup list because he had ankle surgery.
Mm.
I haven't seen any new reports from that, but not the greatest thing to hear. Ricky Pearsall from the 49ers. I don't know if you think our training staff is bad. A lot of people are now saying maybe Ayuk is right because he hurt his knee last year, then went like 10 months trying to rehab it, and then now he's had knee surgery causing him to now miss 2026. So he will know he's now going to miss the entire season.
I was really worried when I heard that. I was really worried because I'm like, the 49ers, they just seem to outmaneuver us at every possible
Yeah.
corner. And I was sure they were going to get Diggs. I was sure they would just
Well,
snipe Diggs.
they instead got Debo Samuel.
Okay.
So Debo Samuel returned to San Fran on a 1-year deal. But from what I also heard, they just had another receiver go down with a knee injury yesterday or today. So it's not looking good. Jadeveon Clowney, another name a lot of the people around here wanted us to look at, returns to Houston on a 1-year deal, and it's like a bargain. And old Darnell Savage, former commander, former Washington football teamer, got cut by the Steelers. We did hire Nick Charlton, an offensive assistant. I unfortunately did not have the ability to really research him, but we have brought him in as an offensive assistant. I don't know what his role is going to be. Nobody said tight end coach or anything, so I don't know where that's going to go. We did have John Embry, former Redskins tight end coach, at practice this past week, and he was with Welker in Miami. I don't know what's going to come of it. He left here in 2010, becoming the head coach of University of Colorado. Maybe they think about bringing him. Maybe he was just consultant. I don't know.
I'm kind of surprised that they just don't give give him the job, man. Let's see what he can
Right,
do. I mean,
right.
I know he wasn't a tight end, but I mean, the general principles have to be pretty similar. And he just seems like such a smart, amazing player. Man, I don't know. Maybe he's not ready. I don't know. But I wish they would just go ahead and give him a chance.
Does anybody else have anything with camp? All right. Well, last week we highlighted Katron Allen. This week, Bob or John threw out. Maybe we talk about Matt Golbin, our 6th-round pick, center out of Michigan State. Took him 209th overall, listed 6'3", 305. Played in 52 games in college, 34 starts. He has started in 2023 at Wake Forest. He started 11 games at right guard. 2024 at Wake Forest, he started 11 games at left guard, and then he started 1 game at center. And then in 2025, he started 11 games at center. He missed the final game, and that was for Michigan State. So he has literally played every interior position he can play. And I don't know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, you kind of wish you would hear more about him, especially with what we've got going on at camp. But I have not heard a thing about him.
I remember I researched him after we drafted him, and I mean, kind of the draft profile stuff on him was he cannot be moved. I mean, he's big, and he's so he's got such a strong lower body that he just isn't a guy that like you're gonna like make a move past, and maybe not the fastest guy in the world or the most agile guy in the world, which is why he got drafted where he got drafted. But in terms of like strength and his ability to anchor and like keep guys from, moving him backwards, you're just not going to do it. So I was excited that we picked him. I just think I mean, you would have to be a special rookie to start at center as a rookie. I don't know. Maybe Tyler Linderbaum started as a rookie. I don't know. Or someone of that level, with that kind of pedigree. But I just don't know many rookie centers that would ever be given, unless it was an absolute last resort, would ever be plugged in immediately. Just because, I mean, it's a different game in the NFL, and the complexity of the decisions you have to make and how you have to communicate. I just don't think most rookies could handle that. So I think that's part of why we're not hearing him even in the conversation of like if Allegretti couldn't go for some reason, or if the injury thing was a bigger deal. I don't think he's going to be the one to step in, but that's just my
Like by design, you mean? Like they're never even considering it?
I don't think so. I mean, I just think it's too big of it's just I mean, that's a big, like I said earlier, that's right up there with quarterback. Almost, I mean, it's not quarterback and it's not left tackle, but it's close. I mean, it's
right.
That center controls a lot of things. And I think that's why Biotis got let go. I really do. I think he wasn't good at like looking at the defense and being able to communicate, because physically he was a damn good center. So the only reason you would let a guy go is he can't do the other stuff as well as you want him to. So I don't see them saying, "Hey, let's give this rookie a shot." I just don't think. I think that would be insane. And I know like Sip on BGO, one of our really good posters, has talked a lot about like that it's kind of a failure that we don't have a better backup plan than what we do, because we're basically taking practice squad guys and third and fourth tier guys from other NFL teams, and that's our backup plan if Allegretti can't go. Bob mentioned Coleman, and I'm kind of like, why don't we see what Coleman can do, man? Because he's probably not going to win a starting job anywhere else on the O-line. Like, maybe he could do it. I don't know, but I am concerned about that, like I said earlier.
Center comes with, I mean, you hit on it, John. Center comes with, it's not just physical, it's mental. You got to have that football IQ, and everything I've read about Golden is that he's got that football IQ. I just looked, his college scouting stuff up, and I know we talked about this in the spring, but I wanted to remind myself. PFF had him ranked as the number 2 center in the whole of FBS last year, and the top run blocking grade at the position nationally. And we want to run the football. And that for me, that was Biotich's problem. Was run blocking. He had the smarts. He made the calls with the line. He seemed to be able to I thought he was a leader. I was really surprised they let him go. But everything I've read since then, it just feels like maybe he wasn't the run blocker, the road grader that Blau wanted. And Golden appears to be that.
Well, maybe who knows, man? Maybe that's. I mean, let's hope that it doesn't even become a real issue that Allegretti. They're just being cautious with Allegretti, but if it is something serious, maybe they'll surprise us. Because I know there were a lot of like NFL draft pundits that were giving us props for that pick, that he was like really under underdrafted there where he was selected.
A couple of the other intangible things that are jumping out of the page on me. He played 5 years in college, but he graduated in 4. He was a graduate transfer to Michigan State. He had graduated from Wake Forest. He moved to Michigan State and was immediately voted a captain by the team.
Mhm.
That speaks to leadership and character to me. Michigan State's not a Johnny-come-lately program. All the guys up there are playing at a really high level. And for him to walk in and impress the team enough that his teammates made him a captain speaks. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Well, boys, it's going to be an interesting couple weeks. We are 7 days away from our joint practice against the Dolphins and 9 days away from our first preseason game, which is crazy to think about. One other thing I did want to point out, we had our first camp fight. I don't know if you guys saw this. Mikey Samerstill and Luke McCaffrey apparently got into a skirmish today. So
I thought you were going to say Jaden's mother.
no. With the reporters. So you can check that off. The other interesting camp note is that apparently the team has put a moratorium on recording at camp. You were talking about trick plays earlier, and the team has made it abundantly clear that they are not going to accept people recording 11 on 11 or playing stalls or anything like that on their phone to prevent them from posting it on social media and leaking information. So, I mean, just adults doing adult things, right? Like, hey, let's not show the world what we're doing.
George Allen era is back. We're back to George Allen.
With the green lining along the fence.
And I think that's probably more important this year than it is in normal years. And I say that because nobody has film on what either one of these two coordinators are doing at all. And so why would you show them?
Yep.
Hell, why would you show them even the warm-ups at this point in time?
Yeah, I think that's totally a great point.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the only advantage we have other than Jaden Daniels. It's the fact that nobody has film on us.
I don't know. I'm getting a little excited about watching this defense play football.
Well, we just need to see them do it against a team that really doesn't want them to operate. I mean, I'm always nervous about our defense looked great against our offense, or our offense looked great against our defense. It's like, what the hell does that even mean? I mean, we don't know how good either one of those units is. So whether or not one unit performs well against the other, I just think it can give you it can set you up for disappointment, I guess is the way I would put it.
Right. You want to see us go up against somebody else who doesn't have to share
that has bad intentions.
Right. Exactly.
Bad intentions.
I don't think we're going to learn anything against Miami.
I don't know, but they're still an NFL team. Are
they really an NFL team this year? I don't know, man.
They don't have time to even think about football. They're trying to figure out how to pay Tua. Anyway.
Well, boys, as always, it's been a pleasure. We'll wrap this thing up in an hour and 4 minutes. If you made it this far, we owe you a drink. Thank you for hanging out. Come find us on all social media platforms, all major audio podcasting platforms, youtube.com and at the mothership bgobsession.com. With that, the pigs are out.